Hey, Vanna. Hey, Comic Book. My computer started being loud last night, and I don't know how to stop it. Hey, Jordan. There you are, Uncle Buck. Jordan, thank you for 33 months, Jordan. And happy birthday, Uncle's Eye. Just her eye? Not the rest of her, just the eye. Good eye or the bad eye? Both are blue. Would that mean you have homochromia? You big old homo? Hi, fruit fly. And yes. Your eyes are gay. Eyes are so gay. Is there anything gayer than eyes? It's great opportunity. I was actually thinking the same thing. Fruit fly, but yeah, fruit cup. But wait, are you saying that Ghost of Fruit Fly is Buttercup? Nah, two totally different accounts. They're definitely different people. Hey, sir. Anywho, I continue to kind of hate the transformation sequences in Sailor Moon Crystal. Daughter bought me Olive Garden for your birthday. Nice. It's because they're family, I suppose. Isn't that their logo? When you're here, you're family. Their salad is dope. No salad is dope. Lasagna, chicken parmesan, and Alfredo pasta. Seems like a big meal. That just seems like a lot of food. Like me behind an Arby's. Okay, but I don't even know where to find an Arby's. I mean, I know there is one in Ottawa, but it's not that much when it's to go order. They have one there. It's huge. Because that's the closest Coke dealer. Yeah, like I guess I do know how to find one. Like I know there is one in Ottawa, but I don't have a way of getting up there. So happy birthday, Unc. Hello, Rebecca. And yes, Fruitfly really wants to know how many breadsticks you had, how many breadsticks you ate. They only give two. Cheap. Aren't the breadsticks why people eat at eat at the Olive Garden in the first place? I mean, I've never really bothered with. I've never been to Olive Garden. I don't know. Like, I don't even know where the hell. Like, I don't even know if Ottawa has an Olive Garden. Frankly, come to think of it. So I don't actually know where to find an Olive Garden. But my understanding was that the breadsticks were like the main reason to eat at Olive Garden. But I don't actually like Olive Garden. I don't actually or breadsticks. I don't actually like breadsticks. So hey, Gilface. Not filling up on bread when there's real carbs to load up on. Good point. Good point. This last night made it to Marathon Peacemaker. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sometimes I feel weird for being one of those people who doesn't marathon shows. I don't do binge watching. Like everyone else does it, but I don't, and sometimes I wonder if I'm weird for not being into. For not wanting to watch, you know, 4 straight hours of the same show. Like, is it weird that I don't want to watch a show for like 4 hours straight or 6 hours straight or whatever? I like 2 episodes. 2 episodes at a time is good. Is 2 episodes a night that works for me. That's how I always do. Like when I was going through Star Trek, 2 episodes. Now that I'm going through Sailor Moon, 2 episodes. Killface, thank you for 33 months, Killface. Happy birthday, Unk. Yay for your birth. You're weird, but that's not the reason. Anyway, while I am currently watching Sailor Moon Crystal, I am wondering if I should actually put that on hold and get Netflix for a month. To instead watch. Hey, Kenny. Yes, I did hear about the school shooting. Because I don't know, I did watch. I did watch the first season of. There was a school shooting, Catholic school, I believe. Last I heard, there's like 2 dead and 17 injured. I think. Was it Missouri? Best left us yesterday. Very tricky. Minnesota, right? I knew it was one of the M states. Yeah, the shooter does seem to have been wildly anti-Semitic. Went to Fortune, name trolling and other shooters. Yeah. Yeah, just an all around shitty person, it seems like. Anyway. Hey, Brooke. I am wondering if I should watch Wednesday season 2. It's crappy. That was the first season. My feeling on the first season was that it was a well crafted teen thriller mystery comedy that had Wednesday Addams dropped into it. As an Addams Family show, order in stream. Yeah. Not until I find a new job. Yeah, I felt that it didn't really capture the vibe of the Addams Family, like the concept behind the Addams Family. Um, which was basically that the Adamses were they were the weirdness. You know, like is they live in a normal world and seeing how normal society fails to deal with them while they just happily go about their business was kind of the point. Whereas the Wednesday show, is all about Monsters and Freaks and shit. And I just felt like that's not really what the Addams Family franchise, what that wasn't really what Addams was getting at. Yeah, his premise wasn't about monsters and freaks. It was more about, really about I don't know, about suburbia. Yeah, about the nuclear family. That said, given that good old J Dot was a huge fan of Wednesday, I feel like I should review it for her, in her honor. Getting Netflix would also give me an opportunity to review that K-pop Demon Hunters that I've heard really, really good things about. You only get it for a month, you might have to binge watch. No, I mean 2 episodes a night. Wednesday was what, 10 episodes? Probably. Right, but I mean, again, that one was a movie, so that I can just watch in one sitting. Check my cookie. Happy birthday to me. Aw, thanks, Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck gave me $75. So extra hearts in the chat for yeah. I was gonna say, I was going to say that actually. Yeah, it's your birthday. Why are you giving me money on your birthday? You got things backwards. Yeah, extra hearts for the for $75. Read the nickname. Uncle Buck's fruit fly. I did miss that. Uncle Buck's fruit fly. I actually totally missed the nickname you put. I just thought Uncle Buck. In honor of Fruit Cup, yeah. On a random note, I'm actually going to need to report that to welfare. I'm actually going to need to report that donation. I do actually. Cash donations do need to be reported. They even like MG give you 1K. No, Uncle Buck's fruit fly gave me $75. But no, there's actually a specific sheet for any income, any money I get. Cash income declaration. They can't tax it. It's not taxed. This isn't for tax purposes. Yeah, cash income declaration. And it does apply for like people gifting me money. Money earned is different than gifts. It still has to be. It actually still has to be reported. Foot fell asleep. Weird walking on a sleepy foot. Now I can't get this back in the envelope. Back in the envelope, stupid paper. There we go. Get down there. There we go. The president's giving me money. That is too kind. Yeah, like I said, it's not for tax purposes. It's basically any money at all that comes into me needs to be reported, even though it's not technically income, or even though it's not technically like earned or anything like that. It's what's up with your legs giving out? They didn't give out. It's just one of them fell asleep. My leg fell asleep. Yeah, one of my legs fell asleep for just a moment there. And it's weird walking. Stop saying reported, it sounds scary. I mean, that's what it is. Declared then. No. No, I was saying it's weird walking on a sleeping foot. Watching a clip of you and Foodie making pizza, and you were telling her about the live action Powerpuff Girls. Hey, Julia. Black Army jobs. Yeah. Plenty. You ever see the trailer Firefly for the live action Powerpuff Girls? It genuinely does not look like a good show. Like, it's one of those things where, like, obviously, I don't blame any of the actors involved. I don't even really, like, very few people are to blame for how bad that show looked. They ever make that, or did it test so poorly? Oh, they scrapped it. Like, there was a trailer for it. Like, I'm not sure like how far along in production the season it was. But they did have like a trailer for it and everything that never actually got released. You're optimistic about it though? This is when we only had an announcement that has been made. They bring the pizza and order takeout, order pizza. Yeah, that sounds like us. I should not have been optimistic about it. Because man, the leaked script was awful. The leaked trailer was awful. After she cut up the veggies and everything. Honestly, the performances in the trailer, the performances were actually pretty bad. And again, that is not the fault of the actors. That is the fault of the director. Make your own version of live action Powerpuff Girls with me, Vanny, and B-Cup. You can be Mojo Jojo. Oh, I was absolutely not going to eat the mushrooms. Yeah, like like the actors involved, they are all talented actors. Yeah, they all know their jobs. Um, but what we saw in the trailer was bad, and that just comes down to bad directing. Can be Sedusa. Sedusa was pretty hot. This is going to be a weird thing to say. Like this is, I feel like this might be a weird position, but I do feel like bad shows and movies and shit like that, they should get released as like special edition things. JoJo is my real life nickname. Like, it's a bad, like, that Powerpuff Girls. It looked terrible. I don't blame, like, absolutely, there's a very good reason that show did not get released. But I feel like it should get a special edition release. They'd make money. Yeah, if they did sort of do a special release of it, they would absolutely make money off it. From all the people wanting to watch it just to see how big a disaster it is. I don't know, like I can understand why they don't, and there's probably tax reasons why they can't. Like there very well may be reasons why they legitimately can't do that kind of special release. But I don't know. I feel like it would be a fun thing for these studios to do. And obviously, it depends on how far along the thing was. If it got scrapped in the middle of production because it was just turning out terrible, then you can't very well just release half a movie or whatever. We don't know exactly like how much of the Powerpuff Girls thing was like how far into post production it was. If they'd like and I think actually it might have just been the pilot those were, and actually it was just the pilot that I am looking it up on Glenn. So I think it actually was just the pilot that was released. I mean, they could release just that pilot. I don't know. I think it would be fun if they released full version of the if they released what they had of the pilot. That said, the leaked script, they were already doing some TV show. The Middle had a pilot episode, and then they recast everything except Brick, the younger son. They were already doing reshoots even before, like they were already planning on heavy reshoots even before that script leaked. As far as the shooter goes, one thing I will say is that we're not. It's not actually fully confirmed if the shooter was trans to begin with. Second, trans people are still less likely than the general population to actually do it. Can watch that. I'm so glad they recast everyone. Yeah, statistically speaking, a trans person is still less likely to commit a mass shooting than a cis person. I have not seen The Middle. You know I don't watch things. Atticus Schaefer is awesome. I don't even know who Atticus Schaefer is. Never even heard of him. Voice actor and a lot of shit. I wonder if he's been in anything that that I know. Ugh, Focus on the Family. He did a show for fucking Focus on the fucking Family. Gross. And he voiced a recurring character in Steven Universe, a show that I'm guessing the people of Focus on the Family probably hated. Hey, Gabrielle. Ricky Lake. Wow. Anyway, yeah, he's been in nothing that I've ever seen. Brittle bone syndrome. Ah. Anywho. Well, Apparently, live action Aristocats is no longer happening. Good. Yeah. Yeah, good. Because, yeah, live action. The CGI. Good. The Aristocats isn't happening. Not the Brittle Bones Syndrome. Yeah. Because it would have been a CGI. Like, it would have been, like, just shitty ass CGI. It wouldn't have looked good. Because Disney does not give their effects artists nearly enough time on anything. So it would have looked terrible. And just like it would have been like the same as like the live as like the CG Lion King, where because they're trying to go for realistic, faces wouldn't have been expressive. Because like that's the point of like making animated movies is that the characters look expressive. CGI is just not good for that. So it would not have been a good movie. Forgot I wanted to watch that Lion King. I did watch it. The original was better. The voice acting was good. Like the CG, like the CG Lion King. The voice acting is good. Yeah, all the voice actors knew what they were doing. But wasn't as like visually. It just wasn't as good as when it was animated. It wasn't as bright and colorful. It wasn't as expressive. Uh, Tone was not conveyed as effectively. Like tone and mood was not conveyed as effectively. It wasn't as good. The original animated version was just a vastly better movie. Same was true of the live action Aladdin. Same was true of the live action Beauty and the Beast. I haven't watched the live action Little Mermaid, but I'd imagine the same is true of that. They're never going to be as good as the animated versions. And beyond that, yeah, most of them made money, but they're not really what the audience wants. The audience doesn't really want live action adaptations of classic animated films. think the big thing I think the big thing audiences really want is to be, they want good original films. Fantasy Escape. Well, it's not just that. Like, do I see inside? I also said one of the Lion King. Hyena goes. You thought it said hyena, but like K-pop Demon Hunters apparently is like the most viewed movie or the most viewed animated film ever on Netflix. Hugely successful. Because they let they let the creator come in and make this passion project, and bring in other great creators and make something original in which they cared about, and it connected with people. One thing that's weird, I feel like one thing that would actually be very good for Disney might be if they spent, sort of 15 years in the wilderness again. Because, like, before The Little Mermaid, Disney had been floundering for a long time, no pun intended. Disney had been sort of lost for a long time. Some of their movies did reasonably well and all that, but well, yeah, like, because like before the Disney Renaissance that was kicked off with The Little Mermaid, Disney had been just lost. Like their name still meant something. They still had, like, it was still, Disney was still a big name, but their movies hadn't really been amounting to much, either in terms of quality or in terms of box office. They were kind of lost. So they took a chance with The Little Mermaid. And holy shit, did that chance ever pay off? And they followed suit with, like, what made The Little Mermaid successful? Well, it took a familiar story and adapted it in a really new, interesting way with beautiful art and top-notch voice acting and great music, and Little Mermaid swung for the fences and hit, and they kept swinging with Aladdin and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. I think I'm getting some of those out of order, but even Mulan, Pocahontas, problematic, but did well. Hunchback of Notre Dame did pretty well. And the reason all those movies got made was because they'd spent was because Disney had spent so long lost just in the wilderness. And yeah, Uncle Buck, they have cornered the market, and I think that is actually a problem. It is a huge problem for Disney. They're becoming more risk averse. Even when they are willing to take a risk, they don't market it. Like Turning Red, for example. Yeah, they took a chance with Turning Red. But they completely failed to market it. They didn't push that movie the way they do most of their other stuff. So nobody went to see it. People weren't really as aware of it, so they didn't go to watch it. Despite the fact that it was, from what I understand, a really fun time. I think a lot of what's happened with Disney is like toy sales shit. Adults love Disney and they raise their kids and grandkids on it. Yeah. Excuse me. Give me a second. I gotta go get more water. Be back in a moment. The safe word. Yeah. When I was at my mom's, I actually watched a video on YouTube. A guy talking about sort of one of the big problems facing Disney. And like, he talked a bit about like the Disney. He's sort of using as an example the Disney princesses, the Disney princess line, and the fact that what happened, and like I liked all the direct to video sequels and prequels and shit, all those like direct to video things they did, and how they were mostly and how they were basically just reducing the characters to their most recognizable forms. And like it wasn't because like Aladdin was the first Disney movie to have a direct to video or the first like that generation to have that direct-to-video sequel, and it was successful. It was a popular movie. You know, it was popular. It was honestly a pretty decent sequel. Certain aspects of it were a little bit weird. You know, Aladdin's still running around in his street rat clothes, rather than, you know, hey, aren't you supposed to be like engaged to the goddamn princess now? Shouldn't you have money for a new outfit? You know, like weird things like that. Um, you know, for what it was pretty good. And more important, it was successful. So every Disney movie had to have direct to video stuff. So Ariel, now Little Mermaid, Ariel had a daughter who wanted to go to the sea. It's sort of a reverse version of the original movie, with Ariel now filling her dad's role of being like, no, you can't. Um, Hunchback of Notre Dame got one where he got a girlfriend because, of course, he did. But the one that the dude I was watching brought up as an especially bad case, as like maybe the worst offender of those movies. Beauty and the Beast. Now, because Beauty and the Beast ended with Beast being returned to his human form, and because they wanted everything to be the most recognizable versions of the characters, they couldn't do it as a sequel. So what they did instead was like sort of an interquel, where during the time where Belle was still living with the Beast. And like they removed a lot of Belle's personality because like in the movie, Belle was kind of a force, right? Like she wasn't really a shrinking violet. What word did you just say? A force. Like a force to be reckoned with. She was a pretty strong character. She did not just sit back and interquel. Not a sequel, not a prequel. It takes place during the story. I think that's the correct term. An interquel. Something that takes place like in the middle. You know, it's not a prequel, it doesn't take place before the story, it's not a sequel, it doesn't take place after the story. It takes place during the story, in the middle of the story. So an interquel. Yeah, so in the original movie, she did not just sit back and take the Beast's bullshit. You know, she pushed him. And in the process, she made him want to be a better person. Not for the sake of love, but, you know, he had this person forcing him to confront his own behavior and telling him, this shit's not okay. This is not how you treat people. Like Shrek and Fiona. Sort of. But yeah, I'd assume so. I would assume. I did watch the original Shrek, but I remember almost nothing about it. Shrek made no impact on me at all. Uh, for the most part. Anyway, yeah, like she was telling him this behavior is not acceptable. And being confronted with someone who wasn't just meekly accepting it, being confronted by somebody who was actually confronting him, forced him to change. The direct-to-video movie did not go with that direction. Did not take that into consideration. That one was a lot more Stockholm Syndrome than the original movie actually was. You know, for all the people talk about the original movie being a case of Stockholm Syndrome, no, it wasn't. She was an active character. She pushed back against him, and in the end, he was that one who had to earn her trust. He let her leave and had to trust that she would return to him. The direct-to-video one, that one was a lot more Stockholm Syndrome-y. But it was what people recognized. It was the most recognizable versions of those characters. And that's sort of what Disney wants, is recognizable versions. I too wasn't a victim of stock market syndrome. Direct to video. How old are you, Gabrielle? That because it might be harder to explain depending on your age. Oh, then you should remember direct to video then. It was movies that like rather than being released in the theaters first, it went straight to VHS. Like it was movies that they didn't get a theatrical release. They were released straight onto video. Direct to video. So you should remember this. Because like if you were like 20, if you were 20, then it's like, okay, how do I explain this? But Beauty and the Beast from early 90s animation. Yes. Yeah, because like the Beauty and the Beast, the 90s, the 90s animated film, that that was released first in the movie theater. Later on, it got a sort of, like I said, an interquel, like a sequel, like not quite sequel thing. Like it got a follow up, but that one did not get the follow up. Did not get a theatrical release. A lot of the Disney Renaissance films got that treatment. Aladdin most successfully, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, fucking Pocahontas got one. Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Peter Pan with I think Tinkerbell got some. You know, and yeah, yeah, that's sort of Disney's problem. They want the most recognizable version of the character, which means sort of boiling off a lot of the most interesting aspects of them. And I mean, it's what they do for all their franchises. Weird to me, Disney put movies back in the vault. They can't do that shit nowadays. I mean, they do still do that. They do still like they remove stuff off Disney Plus, and then it's no longer available. Willow. They put Willow back in the vault. They removed it off Disney Plus, and you can't buy. And there's no physical media. You can't get physical copy of it. There's nowhere to watch. You can't watch Willow legally anymore. There's no legal way to watch Willow anymore. If anything, it's actually become easier for them to put movies back in the vault. Because at least back in the day, Blockbuster would probably still have a copy. Right? Back in the day, you could go to Blockbuster. Yeah. Yeah, we can still watch things by entirely legal means. Also, I mean, it's not like Song of the South is ever coming out of the vault, right? Song of the South, that movie is never leaving the vault. They put that shit in a smaller vault inside the big vault. Actually, I'm curious. Has there ever been a reissue of that one? Never seen it or heard of it for that matter. Came out in 1946. Uh, it is about. It takes place during the Reconstruction era after the Civil War. Um, 7-year-old befriends I know a song by the band Alabama. It's about a 7-year-old white boy befriending an elderly black guy who works on his aunt's or his grandmother's plantation. Very notably, Zippity Doo Dah. You know the song Zippity Doo Dah, Zippity Yay. My oh my, what a wonderful. That song comes from that movie. The thing is, it is not a well considered movie. It was considered even at the time. And remember, 1940 fucking 6 it came out. 19 goddamn 46. People thought it was racist in fucking 1946. You know how racist you have to be considered racist in fucking 1946? In fairness, a lot of white reviewers didn't really consider it too racist. Now, my husband was much older than me. He had a children's book called Little Black Samba. I think I've heard of Little Black Samba. Yeah, review in Time magazine. Bound to enrage all educated Negroes and a number of damn Yankees. The guy who co-wrote the film was quoted in 2012 as saying, "My script was terrible. I've looked at it since. It's just as racist as the film." When the guy who co-wrote the movie is like, "Oh, that was a fucking racist ass script." The weird we what's interesting is Walt Disney actually wanted to prevent it from being racist. I want you on it to prevent it from being anti-black. Disney actually wanted to avoid offending black people with it. A lot of black people were still offended by it, but yeah, it is generally considered to be kind of racist. It's considered as like sort of romanticizing southern plantations. Um, One reviewer said that it was a piece of propaganda for white supremacy. What's the artwork? The racist. So it was mixed animation and live action. Um, so yeah, it was like the concept was like this black guy, Uncle Remus, telling stories about Brer Rabbit. That said, there were some like sort of it did sort of push a lot of stereotypes about black people. Some sequences in Dumbo, which were questionable. The crows, I think, were the main thing in Dumbo. Yeah, the crows. A lot of people felt were like, well, that's you've made the crows you've made the crows a racist character of black people. Congratulations. Yeah, sort of stereotypical costuming, exaggerated dialect. Tar baby. Brer bear. Yeah, Brer Rabbit sequences. It did get a re-release in 1986, apparently. But um, yeah, yeah. So it's apparently there have been sort of internal discussions at Disney about whether to do some like whether to do like another release of it, like whether to release it on DVD or anything like that. Um, there are some people who think, for good or for ill, it is a part of Disney's history. Um, it's just how to go about releasing it because again, racist, but also like it is very much a product of its time, despite its good intention. Like it did have good intentions. Genuinely, the people involved had good intentions. they were not setting out to make something racist. A lot of they were kind of setting out to do something non-racist. Is just a bunch of white people in 1946. So, they'd have to, if they do give it a release, they'd have to have a disclaimer. Your husband was one then? Like any sort of re-release now, they'd have to include a disclaimer about it was released at a different time, and some of the stuff in there in the movie is not cool. Hey, Script Dot. So yeah, like I said, Song of the South, probably not coming out of the vault. Though, it will enter the public domain in 2046. Or 2042, I mean. I think it was 2042. Yeah, I think it's 2042 that it enters the public domain. Like 96 years. Is it okay if I sleep here tonight? I mean, not like I have any, like I'll have a way to stop you once I end the stream. So yeah, once it enters public domain, obviously Disney can't stop it from being viewed. Don't teabag me. I won't. I would never do that. I'm not that kind of person. Sweet. I'm curious what's going to enter the public domain in 2026. Oh, huh. I was curious, and like I'm looking up the Wikipedia article on 2026 in public domain, and Canada's included there. And because of a change in copyright law in 2022, no more Canadian authors will come out of copyright until 2043. The Maltese Falcon, specifically the novel, detective novel Maltese Falcon will enter the public domain. The first Miss Marple book, The Murder at the Vicarage, which introduced Miss Marple. The first Tintin comic album, which not great. Tintin is not a. Herge was fucking wildly racist. So the first Nancy Drew book. The first Nancy Drew novel is going to enter public domain in 2026. All Quiet on the Western Front. Earliest Betty Boop cartoons. Rin Tin Tin was a dog, yeah. 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoons, which includes Pluto's design. So Pluto enters the public domain. Maybe the most interesting actually is going to be Betty Boop. Because it's specifically going to be her early design, which was very much more dog based. Yeah, she's sort of an anthropomorphic dog. Poodle, specifically, anthropomorphic poodle. So that version of her. Popeye? The earliest Popeye ones have already entered public domain, I think. I believe might have been this year, actually. Like the earliest of Popeye's appearances. Olive Oil had Marfan syndrome. introduced 1929, and it's 96 years of copyright. So, yeah, Popeye did enter public domain this year. And in fact, there were 3 live action Popeye horror films this year. Betty Boop got an extra chromosome. Well, how fucking boring. Popeye enters the public domain, and by April, there were already 3 live action Popeye horror films. Like, that's the only thing anyone can come up with for him. Come on. Old version of Brutus scared the shit out of me. Fair. Need to bring back laying dangles over train tracks. Which is such a weird thing. Like, why? Like, why did he even do that? Like, what was he getting out of that? Like, what was what Snidely Whiplash? Snidely Whiplash, right? What was he even getting out of that? Felix the cat with like the dateable clock. Your clock broke after like a month. And once I put a mustache with my Felix doll to disguise us, because Dee Dee from Rugrats wanted to turn us into ravioli. Wasn't fully broke, was right twice a day. Depends if it was digital or not. Broken digital clock is just blank, so did to our own son, so we knew he would not be spared. The tail didn't wag. Our flash is 12, which is also right twice a day. Well, yes, but if not plugged in, it's always right as time is nonlinear. True. Two rights can be true at once. Two rights make a left. Favorite object of the 12 days of Christmas? Well, it's got to be the rings, right? I mean, I'm not much for birds. I'm not much for birds, and like 8 of the 10 days or 8 of the 12 days are fucking birds. You know, four straight days of birds, and then rings, and then you get more fucking birds in there. Pipers piping. Yeah, I mean, pipers are nice. What's you got in there? You got the Lords of Leaping, you got the Maids of Milking. They can milk my... Anyway, I'm going to get going. Back tomorrow for more Date Everything. We will continue to date some objects tomorrow. I'm pro bird because they are tiny dinosaurs. My mom got me a Kentucky Birdwatcher book. They are tiny dinosaurs. Good night, everybody.